Entrepreneur David Thomas is leading a business delegation to the Asian Financial Forum 2012 here in Hong Kong. And he's speaking to us ahead of the event from Sydney, Australia. Thanks indeed for joining us. Now, I believe that you're considered to be a business futurist. So can I put this question to you? In the 21st century and the second decade thereof, what are the major factors that you would consider as a business person? Would you, for example, look at technology? Look at debt?
I would. I think debt is an issue we're all focusing on right now, particularly in Western Europe and America. And the 4 BRIC countries, which between them have very little debt, if any at all, significant reserves, an abundance of land, people and capital, will certainly lead the way into this century. And the big question, which I know is everybody's wondering, is how quickly they can advance their own technology so that they can effectively take over the leadership role that we've relied on from America and Western Europe for so long.
So you really think that China and the other BRIC countries can assume a leadership role? And we're talking, what, about 30 or 40 years out?
I think it'll have to be closer than that, because I don't think we've got 40 or 50 years for them to do that, because the crisis in Western Europe is going to take 10 to 20 years to resolve, and America has got their own debt problems, which I don't think we've really faced up to yet. So it's going to be imperative for the Chinese to take over technological leadership. They're already doing that. I think you probably know there are more patents now being registered out of China than in Western Europe. We're starting to see China take a lead. Russia is now building its own Silicon Valley. Brazil has a very strong focus on technology, and India, as you well know, has already a global leadership position in technology.
So really looking at the BRICS, would you think that they could be delinked perhaps from the developed world in terms of technology and maybe natural resources?
I do, and I think the intra-BRIC relationship is now the crucial aspect that will contribute to global trade going forward. The intra-BRIC trade, in other words, the trade that is done between one BRIC country and another, is growing at about 30% a year at the moment. And it's pretty hard to see 30% trade growth anywhere in the world right now. So the BRICS leaders meet regularly every year. Their various counterparts meet around finance, technology, education and so on. They have already established a clear path to developing their leadership in many different areas, and they have the investment capital available to do it.
What do you see, David, as the next big business opportunity, if you like, in the Asia-Pacific region?
At the moment, and certainly sitting here in Australia, where we are China's #1 source of outbound investment, with $36 billion or so committed from China to Australia, albeit mainly in our resources sector, the biggest opportunity right now in this part of the world, down in Australia, is the opportunity to attract and source investment from China. We've already seen an enormous wave into our resources sector, and that's likely to continue for some time yet as China continues down the path of urbanization. But I think that what we'll now start to see is investment in all the other relevant sectors like education, tourism, technology, clean technology, biosciences, and then of course into sort of harder areas like infrastructure, land and agriculture. So here in Australia we're in a quite an unusual position that whilst we're a pretty small country facing up into Asia, we actually have this extraordinary opportunity, having survived the global financial crisis for various reasons. We find ourselves in this unique opportunity to engage with Asia Pacific by offering up the various assets and leading technologies that we're developing here.
And is Hong Kong in your plans as an entrepreneur?
Well, Hong Kong sits very nicely in the sort of centre of the Asia-Pacific region. When I lived in Hong Kong, before China really started opening up, Hong Kong was at the sort of northern end of the region. It's now front and centre because establishing a base in Hong Kong enables you to service and look up into the China market, but also the Southeast Asian market as well. So I think Hong Kong, as the international financial services centre of China, provides a great sort of gateway to the rest of the world in terms of facilitating investment coming out of China and business going into China. And so I see Hong Kong has a very important role to play, which of course it's traditionally played, but it becomes even more important, if you like, in the years ahead.
So finally, looking at the Asian Financial Forum 2012, how would you rate that as a pool for new business ideas?
Well, this will be the third time that I've led a mission from Australia to the Asian Financial Forum, and this year I know there's a big focus on sustainability, which I think will play nicely into our hands in terms of, you know, clean technology and other forms of bio and other technologies. So I'm expecting this year there to be a lot of focus on individual business matching, both through the deal flow sessions and around organising individual one-on-ones with people within the conference. The TDC have worked with us here to maximise on that opportunity, and I can see that this year it's going to be all about individual matching rather than necessarily a big forum as has happened before. But I know from previous visits that the Asian Financial Forum is able to attract some really great speakers and business leaders from around the region, and I'm sure that will contribute a lot to the various ideas that will be being discussed.